If you'd like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or follow us on any of our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Live on Four Legs Podcast and on Twitter at Live on Four Legs Pod.
Okay, this is happening. It's happening. I'm gonna make a toast here because it's nights like these that, along with the magic and the ivy and the old scoreboard and the 100-year-old bricks and all the history, what really makes this jewel of the city such an incredible place is the people that come fill this place with their positive energy and strength. And I'm seeing that on display big time right now. So here's to you, Chicago. Thank you. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking camera in the truck. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody now, welcome to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast, and sadly we are at the end of our Wrigley month, and boy has it been a blast. We've enjoyed just spending time talking to so many great people, talking about these Wrigley shows and getting to kind of look back, and I know it's not that distant of the past that we get to look back on, but man, these are some of the most special shows that the band has ever done in their catalog, and just getting to talk about all of them all in a row has just been an exciting and emotional time. But all of you guys that have chimed in and wished us well and said that we're doing a good job, thank you all for doing that. It's meant so much to us. I think this is probably our favorite stretch that we've had so far. So introducing the hosts, Randy Sobel here and John Farrar over there. Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. I'm sad that this is it. This is the end of Wrigley until we get more Wrigley shows at a later date.
Yeah, I have a feeling, like I've said, a couple of times this month, I have a feeling this is not the last we'll see of Pearl Jam at Wrigley Field.
No, absolutely not. Especially if they go 3 or 4 more years without winning the World Series over there. Ed wants some. He's going to want some 2016 magic to come back. But hey, look, it gives us great material to work with. These shows are always special, and the ballpark shows, fantastic stuff. So if you haven't been tuning in, if this is your first one that you've been listening to, I ask you to go back, and the whole month of July we've had great interviews. And John, who have we interviewed this month? Tell everybody.
Yeah, we talked to Stephen Hyden, the great music journalist. We talked to Jonathan Cohen, who helped co-write the PJ20 book. We talked to Rob Bleetstein and from Sirius Pearl Jam Radio, Sirius XM, and Bob Krause, who was at those Wrigley shows. And then, we've been talking to the fans. We had that episode where we read all your stories, and that was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for sending those in.
Yeah, it's been a huge month, and like we said, we're sad to see it go, but we have some more exciting things up on the horizon that I'm sure we will share with you towards the end of the episode. But last week, I know you guys were tuning in and you noticed that we did a Wrigley Forum, and we will get back to that same group of patrons this week. But just to remind you all what's going on at Patreon right now. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on Patreon, and we have a Bridge School episode that's going to come out this week. I think it's night 2, 1999, as we continue along with just looking back and reminiscing on those fantastic shows. And we're going to have an Evolution episode on Rearview Mirror coming up kind of soon. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, right, John?
Yeah, that's right. And we've always got our Devo episodes coming out, so where we get a chance to just have some fun and let our hair down a little bit and talk about some more lighthearted things. So be on the lookout for those too.
Absolutely, and we want to thank 2 new patrons this week, Jeremy Curtis and Javier Herves. Thank you to both of you for joining in on our little team over there. And for if you want to join in, head on over to patreon.com/liveon4legs. And right now we got some masks sitting over here. We are waiting. We're just waiting for the patrons that haven't gotten back to us. If they do get back to us, those masks belong to them. If they don't, then it's for the next people that sign up. So if you want to contribute to the show and we get to do stuff like this Wrigley month and the set list drafts and more things that we can do with your help and your enthusiasm, like that's, head on over, help us out, subscribe, and we'll put everything back into making the show more special and more important. And that leads us into inviting our next guest onto the show for today. His name is Alex Turetjin, and Alex, thank you for coming on the show, and you are a patron, and you are actually a set list draft winner, so congratulations for that, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Been looking forward to this for a while, and been a long-time listener for a while now, and just a huge fan of the band, huge fan of the show, and excited to be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you were at this night 2. You weren't at night 1, if I understand correctly, right? You were at night 2?
No, I was not. We came into Chicago on night 1, but we didn't get tickets, sadly, to this. It's the first time.
And now you gotta let the audience know that you're pretty early on into your Pearl Jam fandom here, and you're already 5 shows deep, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So I was at Wrigley 2013. I was at Moline in 2014, and then I went to 2 shows before this one, the home shows, and then I went to this one, this second show, Wrigley 2018.
So most of your experiences have been ballpark experiences. So is that, especially going to a place like Moline, how different is that? Just getting all that, seeing them on such a huge stage.
It was kind of weird going into that thing, but I was also super young. I was also 9 years old at that time. So it was pretty much me, my dad, and then a couple of his buddies. We all went there, and the weird thing was my dad didn't tell me they switched the set list every night. So when they came on stage, I was expecting Release, because I've never been to a band where they changed the set list like that. And then they come out with Elderly Woman. I was like, oh wow, this is different, this is cool though, because I knew the song and I love that song. And then it just was an amazing experience, but really different from 2013, especially after what happened at that show.
Now I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of stuff happened that night. We talked all about it in many of our episodes, and I think it's the one show that does get brought back in all the other Wrigley shows because it's part of the story. So, you're very young and you're dealing with a rain delay. Do you remember a lot of what was going on during the rain delay? Do you remember where you were? Tell us a little bit about that one before getting into, 5 years later and how you dealt with the 2018 one.
Yeah, so what I remember about that day was that I used to live in Chicago, and we lived 45 minutes away from the city. So that I just remember driving towards the stadium and then hearing Mind Your Manners, and it was this is really cool. I can't wait. Maybe they'll play it at the show. And then when we got there, we had seats literally 3 rows behind the plate, which were great, amazing seats. I could see if I was standing on a stool. But I remember after they played Elderly Woman, and then they did the announcement. But during that song, I remember I saw a lightning bolt come in behind the stadium. I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. And then they had the rain delay, and it just felt like it was never going to end until they came back on 3 hours later, midnight, and then played till 2 a.m. Let's play 2.
And your dad let you stay there, and he kept you awake for all of that?
I think I fell asleep the second I got in the car, but I stayed up pretty much the entire show.
That's pretty awesome. Hey, I give you a lot of credit for that. I don't think a lot of 8-year-olds can do that.
Yeah, but also the thing is, by the time I was 6 years old, I went to 5 shows at the Metro, at
Wow.
they were at late night shows. Like we went to one show on New Year's, and they did the countdown during the show.
Wow. Who was that? Who was playing at that show?
It was a band called Airborne Toxic Event. They're a really small band, but I just became a huge fan of them after I saw them on Letterman. They played one of the songs called Wishing Well. I was just hooked forever. I still love listening to the band, but Pearl Jam's just my home now. Like when you leave to go on vacation, you always want to come home someday. And Pearl Jam's like kind of that thing.
Yeah, I hear you. Absolutely. That's why we do this whole thing. So, all right. So you had that experience in the rain, and now this is a little bit different because, like you said, they went on stage, they played some songs that 2013 show. This show is just kind of, it's raining out, it's pouring, it's pretty much a miserable day, and yeah, nothing's really going on, and they, you get the big announcement saying it's postponed until further notice. And what's going on? This is sort of Act 2.
I think it was just kind of funny because those are the 2 Wrigley shows that we're at, and they both get rain delays. And I think it was just walking in and seeing like, oh well, there's gonna be rain. We might be here for a while, and then thank God they came on at 9:30 at night. It wasn't midnight like last time because we had to catch a flight at I think 4 a.m. to Seattle the next day after the show, and we were like, oh, I hope they don't cancel the show or something like that. And at least they came on at 9:30, and an amazing show came out of it, obviously.
Obviously the show brought back a lot of memories for the band for 2013, and it always seems to kind of be the specter that hovers over every one of these shows. And like Alex said, I'm just glad they were able to get it in and able to get the show in because, they really didn't want they don't want to have to go back and do what they did in 2013. They don't want to have to keep those people there. That was a one-time only thing. So yeah, just thankful. I know that everyone in the band and their crew was grateful that it let up and they were able to get the show in.
Right, and the time that they were allowed on stage was much less than they were allotted in 2013. 2013, of course, Let's Play Till 2. Everybody remembers that, but I think that they had a very strict out time of midnight at this show. So, it must have been hard for them to get out and want to get out there, but yeah, there's a lot of struggling, especially for the people in the stands, thinking, hey, this might not happen. I got to leave the next day. There's a lot riding on that. So let's throw it right now. Let's introduce our forum that we brought on the show last week. Let's introduce them real quick, get you familiar with their names, and then we'll talk about their experiences in the rain as well.
My name is Curtis. I'm from Eastern Iowa.
My name is Ryan. I live in Pittsburgh.
My name is Bradley. I live in Portage, Indiana, right outside of Chicago. I'll say in my experience, 13 was, I guess, yeah, I think people were more calm in 13 because they said they'd come back, and and people were hearing rumors that, oh, they're going to get a little extent, or at least I should say the people I was standing around. I can't speak for the rest of the park or whatever, but in the immediate area that I was standing in 13, people were just kind of like, all right, come on, let's get this, let's go. But no one was like upset. No one was, considering leaving or anything like that. Everybody knew that that was going to be a big show. Everybody could sense that, they were going to pull out something special at the show, and, which they did and stuff. But then in 18, because of, the delay, it was one where I remained calm just because I've been through it before. I'm sure we'll get something cool, out of this and everything. But it just it had almost had a different sense. It was, I should say, like 13, everybody felt more optimistic, whereas 18, people just seemed like bummed out and kind of like it was more than an inconvenience for them and stuff like that. So it's a little, it was weird to see the difference, I guess.
Total same. I think the difference between 13 and 18 is the just what the day's forecast was. At 18, it was like a lot of the vibe. We were on the floor, so we were inside and a little crowded. It was, why aren't they just calling it? Like, if you looked at the radar, it was like, this isn't going to subside, and they're not going to play. Like, let's get this ready to play at like noon or 1 or whatever tomorrow, and rain delay and do it tomorrow afternoon. I think the Cubs schedule kind of was a fit for that, and I don't know if that was just a rumor that was pervasive in our little area, but it was, I don't know, 13 felt more like, you're delayed on an airplane. It's like, well, no matter how long it is, it's like 15 more minutes, 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
This is just like, is this going to happen? And even it was like when they started to announce they're for sure going to play was like the first we thought that they were for sure going to play. Like, maybe my little group was negative or just, whatever was swirling around us, but it was like, what are we doing? And I think what the actual forecast and the radar said, led into that. I think 2013 was surprisingly more rain and lightning, and 18 was should they even punched our tickets? What are they thinking? Obviously, it worked out, but it was very intense and definitely tale of two rain delays.
I will say in 13, I remember wherever they made, since we were already on the field, and then they escorted us off wherever they had us, like just, under the bleachers or wherever it was. I was jammed we were like in like sardines, it was very tight. There was, it was very hot and it was almost uncomfortable, but I think the optimism from everybody kind of kept people in good spirits, and it was, almost like a, hey, we're all in this together kind of thing. In 18, I was in a different location. I had seats for 18, but they were on the field. So I was escorted out through a different direction. So I actually had more room. In 18, I was lucky enough to where we stayed for the rain delay was very close to a drinking fountain and a bathroom. So it was a little more relaxed for me. But like I said, there was the feeling of despair in the air, I guess you could say. So at least it was a little more comfortable in 18, but still just like the vibe was not as comfortable.
Do you guys think that the atmosphere around it and the kind of dreariness of the whole atmosphere contributed to them choosing to open with Given to Fly, like more of an uplifting song to try to get everybody up from the beginning?
Excellent question. I think I'm really impressed with how they pivoted with this show as opposed to just really plowing ahead with the set list that was in 2013 when some of it didn't super make sense. I would go to my grave saying that this was definitely rewritten significantly during this rain delay, and the Given to Fly opener, for sure, you needed something that was recognizable, a hit, something that everyone would know, and that big open soaring feeling, right? We have limited time. We've been delayed. If you're not going to get off, I'm going to get you off. Let's get it going right away.
Hey, good evening. Before we start, I really think you should all just give yourselves a big hand. Thank you. Here's to you.
Like they said, I mean, you know, you come out of the gate with Given to Fly, and that's huge because most of these shows you're getting slow burn opens, three song opens, you're getting a release, you're getting Elderly Woman, and all of those kind of songs. But your slow burn is gone now, and it feels like Given to Fly is kind of the best, and it seems even in retrospect like the only option that they can go to, just because of its build and the intensity and how crazy the crowd can get during this one. Like, you know, I think the forum put it best that there was just a jolt of energy after, you know, right away when they came on stage.
But yeah, we're going to talk about this too as we go. Like, this is an absolute masterclass in set construction. Like, this is one of Ed's best jobs. Like, one of his best performances in making a set list. Like, every note of it, every song is perfect to hit that right note with the crowd, to get the crowd going. And yeah, Given to Fly from the beginning. This crowd didn't want to have to sit through a 3 or 4 or 5 slow burn open. That they were ready to go.
Yeah, and look, you know, I think you're absolutely right. It is a masterclass of, you know, him reading the room and figuring out, okay, you know, we have to come out explosive because they're ready, they're antsy, and honestly, the band has got to be antsy too. You know, how many times have they played Wrigley up to this point? What did we say last week? They have a lot to live up to reputation-wise, so this is another big show for them. After Given to Fly, after you get all the enthusiastic stuff, you know, you get him changing the lyrics to "Made it out to Wrigley, felt the rain and the breeze," and you get the crowd erupting when they said, "Well, fuckers." Like, there's so many things going on in there. Like, the crowd just wanted so badly to have that moment that one just stood out, but you get to follow that. Why Go, Last Exit, Minor Matters, Evolution. This is a not fucking around set list. That's what makes this so good. And you know, they're not trying to do, you know, maybe sometimes they'll throw in a rare gem or, you know, something that might be a little bit off balance. This is all stuff everybody knows and everybody's going to get in right away. They have, you know, they're chanting songs, call and response songs, they're dancing songs. Everything about this is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, we hadn't really had a little punk rock set like this at any of the other Wrigley shows. Like, a lot of them they just kind of worked into it really slowly and kind of a mid-tempo thing, but this one is structured a little more like an arena show. Like, they had to get this crowd going right from the very beginning, and these songs are perfect. Like, Why Go, Last Exit, Mind Your Manners, Do the Evolution. Like, and again, it's 10 versus Vitalogy, Lightning Bolt, Yield. Like, perfectly constructed. He has this crowd eating out of his hands.
And not only that, but think about the actual individual performances of these songs. And I think the best example of these 5 is probably Go. it's just smooth sounding. Usually when they play a go or a Y go, and they wanna get the crowd moving, they want to get the crowd up, they'll tend to play it a little bit faster. They'll tend to go off the edge a little bit. These performances are all just silky butter smooth. Like, there's no hiccup. There's no, all right, we're just gonna rush through it because, you know, we had such a delay, and let's just get to everything fast. Everything that they're playing here has a little bit of a groove, and it's amazing that they're able to manage this group of songs and make it sound like that as well.
Oh yeah, and Last Exit for me is the one too. Like, we talk about it sometimes where it kind of doesn't have the same bite that it did, 20, 25 years ago, but this is a great version of Last Exit for 2018. I was super impressed.
Just letting the drums just hang out there and then giving McCready a little bit of the platform, and I think McCready was fantastic in Why Go, and like, McCready's fantastic on this whole show. Like, there's no, there's no doubt about it, but there's something to be said about them being amped up and them figuring out a way to elicit that energy without going totally overboard, and they absolutely nailed it. This whole section is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And then you get the, we get those covers that we always get at Wrigley in the main set, and I was confused by this first one. I thought it sounded a little bit like Daughter at the very beginning.
That didn't strike me. That didn't strike me at all, but that's it. That's interesting that you mentioned that.
Just that first few seconds, it sounds very similar to Daughter.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that a little bit more closely, because maybe I was just sort of thinking that, hey, this is Rain and that's it. But yeah, you might have a point there. But yeah, 2 covers pretty early. That's something that's not like it's not preferred necessarily, but you also, when you get Rain, you kind of, it's sort of tongue-in-cheek, and it's sort of making fun of the fact that, hey, out of 5 shows, 2 of them we've dealt with this, and it's a throwback to the first Wrigley 2016 one that we covered, and I think at this point people probably recognize this song a lot more than they did when you saw it that year.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's probably true, because they became a little bit more known for it. And yeah, how are they not going to play it after everything that happened?
Of course, yeah. And look, if they didn't open the show with Wash, I'm sure they would have tried to throw Wash somewhere too. Like, it's these puns and kind of these connections that they can make with Wrigley that really stick with you. So yeah, Rain has really kind of become the Wrigley song. So if they play there in 2021, like, you can almost expect to see it at one of those shows. I'm thinking at this point.
Well, it'll probably be raining at least one of them. So yeah,
given the odds, of course, yeah. Yeah, but he does he gets a little bit emotional before getting it to do the evolution too, and he makes a little bit of a toast to the history of the park and, the people with the positive energy, and that's one thing, coming out of the gate right before giving a fly. He just says, look, you all sat through this, you all did a good job, and we're gonna reward you for that. Like, that's just to know that that's coming, that's got to give you that goosebump feel before just roaring into all of this that we're touching up on now. But
yeah, it almost reminded me of that Pink Pop 92, that famous speech where he's like, you survived today. That,
yeah,
it kind of gives you chills.
Right, of course. I mean, Pink Pop, man, that is a strong comparison to make, and you know what, it might be justified when looking back a little bit on history. It might be justified on this. So the other cover here is Throw Your Hatred Down, and we're in the 25th anniversary of Mirror Ball, so this is kind of interesting that it's getting brought up here. And they went back to it a few times during the home and away shows. I think they did it at one of the Seattle shows, and Missoula, they do it here, and they don't do it at Fenway. But yeah, like, as good of a time as ever to bust it out. And they're getting a little bit political. Some of the other covers that came from this weekend were a little bit political, and I think it worked. Like, look, they cover Neil just as well as anybody does.
I absolutely love this. This is one of my top 2 or 3 covers that they do. I really hope they keep it in the repertoire because it sounds great. It's got a great drive to it. It's perfect for the middle of a set like this. I absolutely love it. It's one of the highlights of the show for me.
That can kind of hint at, you know, we mentioned that Mirror Ball's in its anniversary. We can kind of hint, I know our patrons know this, but there's going to be something very Mirror Ball specific coming within the next couple weeks. So if you are a fan of Neil Jam, look out, because I think we got something pretty exciting for you on the horizon. So more to come on that, hint. Even flow section here, and it's, you know, all I can say is, you know, it had a little bit of a hiccup somewhere in there where right from the chorus into the verse something happens and they decide to keep playing, and Ed sort of gives his best Adam Sandler vampire impersonation. Just
the opera man. The opera man clip.
That's
yeah.
Yeah. But look, you know, he admires Mike and Matt after this, and when is there not a version of Even Flow where he just takes a second and he's like, Mike, Matt, this is fantastic. Always has to do it.
Oh yeah, a lot of times he'll even leave the stage because that's his moment to go get a drink and rest the voice a little bit.
Of course. Good section coming up here, and I want to throw it back to our panel for a second because they were really high on this part, especially you. So we're going to throw it back to them, and then we're going to get our reaction to all this. So let's listen into them.
Loved it. You was a discussion on the drive home. I'm like, dude, why isn't this like a top 40 hit? Like this is an excellent pop song, man. And maybe just this performance, I was very feeling it. It's not, you know, overthinking anything. It's just very verse, chorus, verse, bridge. Like I think it's excellent, and this was a very, very fun version. And as far as like that super special, rare, deep cut, count me in. Loved it.
My friend and I, we got up there, I think, the Thursday night, and so we went up to like Wrigley Field just to bum around because we heard they were going to do sound checks. And I think, if I remember correctly, you was one of them. And so the fact that we didn't hear it the first night, it was like, aha, you know, there it is. So that's what I remember when I heard it.
Yeah, I had also heard. I wasn't there to hear the sound check, but on the message boards or somewhere online, the songs they had performed, I won't say leaked, but I had come across them, and so I thought the same thing. Was when they didn't play it the first night, I kind of thought that they might play it the second night, and I had never seen it before. So I'm always willing. I always like to see songs I've never seen before. Obviously Pearl Jam originals, and so it had always been one of my favorite B-sides. It's just it's just catchy as hell, and it's just a nice little fun happy song.
My Tree, Immortality, like I feel like these they're amazing ballpark songs.
If these two aren't in your top 10, we have very, very different opinions of Pearl Jam.
In My Tree is not in my top 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Randy.
That's
but
it's a little bit later,
Immortality
right?
is number 2 on my list. So
spoiling me.
Spoiler! I haven't got to listen to it.
Oh, sorry. Whoops, my bad.
In my tree.
I love In My Tree.
Back with Mortality. Wow. This is and then Daughter with This Okay. This part of the set list was written with me in mind. So good. My favorites. I'm totally in the zone here. That back-to-back stretch of those two, very, very special. Great versions of both. Immortality, just screaming into the night sky. What time is it at this point? Maybe pushing midnight almost, like after they would have gone off on a normal show, right? Mm-hmm. And just knowing, I remember thinking that in the moment, like, how special is this? We're at the ballpark. We're in like extra innings or rain delay or whatever, and Mike's playing this solo to Immortality. Like, this rain delay sucked, but right now life is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. I will say that both In My Tree and Immortality are two other songs that I will take every night, anytime I could see them. They're two songs also that I think like when I was starting getting into Pearl Jam, they were low on my radar, and it wasn't until seeing them live that I felt them, so to speak, and so it made me like them even more, or the songs rather. And so now, like I said, it's just like I said, I feel it through my bones when they play those songs, and I will take them every show.
Up here in my tree, yeah. All newspapers matter not to me, yeah. No more crowbars to my head, yeah. Oh, I'm trading stories with door leaves instead, yeah.
So, yeah, guys, this is a pretty strong section. I mean, pretty rare song that hadn't been played in 80 shows before this. In My Tree and Immortality, which are like two of the very, very, very highly regarded songs on the fans list. So, I mean, John, I know that those are two your absolute favorite. In My Tree is your absolute favorite.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you still haven't heard it live yet, so these are like perfect ballpark show songs in my eyes.
These three back to back, I would have been just in a puddle on the ground. Yeah, to get these three, like I Love You, it's one of my favorite B-sides, and In My Tree, obviously amazing.
Alex, you had a really good moment here with In My Tree, so why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when I was little, In My Tree was one of my favorite songs off of No Code, probably my most favorite song. And when I heard it in Moline, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And I was kind of sad that I didn't get it in Seattle in the first show when I had GA. But then coming down to Chicago and hearing it, it just struck me like a lightning bolt. Like I felt so much energy during that song, and I just remember screaming the lyrics during the song because it was like I had so much fun and just had such a relationship with the song, and was so happy to hear it live again.
Now, when they did it in Moline, did you realize at that moment what they were doing?
Kind of, not really. It was still early in the set. I think it was fifth song in the set, so I think people weren't really connecting the dots for a little bit, but I could see where you can make that assumption. But I didn't realize it because I was still really, really young at that time.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. But yeah, look, just remembering that the accidental drum beat of Who You Are that was In My Tree, and Jeff kind of screwing up on that bass line, almost them forgetting their own album was sort of the hint and all that. But yeah, like to get that song twice in a very short span is definitely a lucky little stretch for you.
I love the little like goodbye improv that they do afterwards.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
it's perfect. Perfect.
Now, is that considered the intro to Immortality, or is it considered the outro to In My Tree?
I just considered it like a bridge between the two.
Okay. Because it kind of had that feel of like it could have been a going into the arpeggiated intro, but they kept off of it. But it sounds really, really good.
Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, girl.
Speaking of stretches, we get sort of a hit stretch here that really works fantastically. Daughter, Unthought Known, Jeremy, all back to back to back. Daughter's the highlight of all this for me, and I think it's the crowd. They were just, at this point, they were still so hungry for this. I feel like maybe at this point, the rain delay felt like it was so long ago, and it was finally off their minds. I know it was raining a little bit into the set, probably during Go and Minor Manners and all them, but at this point, that has to be in the past. And when I'm realizing in Daughter, when they do that call and response and they come out of it right away, it's almost like Ed has to just sort of redirect his way of his approach with the song because the crowd is so strong.
Oh yeah, and you get that "It's Okay" tag, which is just perfect for the setting and everything. Like going back to the Cubs and everything, like it all ties in together. And yeah, this version of Daughter, like after those three, like You, In My Tree, and Immortality, Daughter is one that's just gonna get everybody back. And like I talked about, the set construction is immaculate. Like there's not a bad song that's placed in the wrong place. And we talk about that a lot, where this could have been here, this could have been here, but this is absolutely perfect. And yeah, Daughter is a highlight too. Yeah, he's got the crowd eating out of his hands, like I said before.
He also went on a little bit of a political rant during that song where he's like talking about like how if women don't hit the polls, like ages 18 to 35 can make a difference in the polls because there were so many laws regarding women at that time. And he kind of went on a rant. It was really powerful. And then after that, going into It's Okay, it was just a great moment. Very, like, such a high regard of that moment during that show for me.
To get the respect of those around her, to be treated as an equal and be paid as an equal in the workplace. She's gonna need her voice. This upcoming election, that there are many books on the laws that will decide laws for for future generations. It's interesting that some of those laws will be affecting mainly women. But here's the good news. The one group of people who can change this election come November is the age group of women between 18 to 35. You have it in your hands. The people have the power, but not only people, the women, you have the power. I got chills because I'm glad that the women have got the power. So sing with me. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone, it's okay. Let's get one more. Go on now. It's okay. Oh, we've all seen better days. It's okay. You don't have to run and hide away. But it's okay. Yeah, we love you anyway. This is my chance. This is my life. And I hope in an hour, yeah. This is my choice. This is her voice. There may be no tomorrow, yeah. This is her plea. This is her need. This is her time for standing free. This is her step. This is her death. In a world demanding a day. It's okay. Yeah, we've all seen better days. It's okay. You don't have to run and hide away. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's
The guy who can't vote is saying that is powerful. Get your asses out there to go vote, people. That's that's a statement if I've ever heard one before. So yeah, again, when Ed can get that platform and speak on behalf of something really important, absolutely, it becomes a very strong moment, and especially when he's singling out women and giving them and empowering them to go do something special. Always amazing. Slow Patriot here. You got Fast Patriot after Masters of War Night 1, Wrigley 16. Slow Patriot comes back, and I thought it really worked. After Jeremy, I think there was a lot of intensity coming from both Unthought Known and Jeremy. There was just so much going on. They're such great hit songs. They kind of filled the atmosphere, and Jeremy sort of needs a little bit of a come down. So to have that almost like a bridge, that that beginning of Patriot and then speeding into the fast part, I thought that was a really good choice too.
Oh yeah, the crowd in Jeremy is unbelievable, and then to come back with something like Patriot after Jeremy, it's great. And like there's nothing like hearing Jeremy with 50,000-60,000 people screaming at the end. It's perfect.
And also, in Jeremy, I was gonna add on in Jeremy. Also, I don't know if you could tell on the bootleg, but I just remember hearing the roar when Jeff did that bass line right at the beginning, and like people were so hungry for that. Like I don't know what it was about that song, but it was such a emotional song for that crowd at that time, because I just remember being shocked by the noise that it made. I can't even, like, it's just uncomparable what I heard at that time. And then in Patriot getting that in Seattle also, this was a better version in my opinion because of the slow version in the beginning and just the build up from that song.
Yeah, and look, I think Jeremy is one of those songs that kind of brings people together and can bridge the gap between the young fans and the older fans and the fans who might be attending with a friend that aren't massive fans. I think everybody's always going to have a reaction to that. I always go back to that Made in America show where, you know, nobody was reacting to things like Unemployable and Save You, but boy, when Jeremy hit, it woke them up. So yeah, of course, that kind of atmosphere, you're going to have everybody getting up on that. So yeah, again, this is middle of set, and sometimes middle of the set, you can find lulls in points. I don't think that this set lulls at all. This is pretty well put together, and again, like, almost no fucking around, almost no bullshit. So after the slow version of Patriot, you get the finishing of the main set with Lucan and Porch, and there's no finger in a woman's face at this version of Lucan, so you don't get that. Yeah. But you do get a little bit of almost a reprise after it, where he's singing "I'm going to Wrigley's, give me a spot at Murphy's." Like that's a cool little thing that doesn't get thrown into that song very often.
I'm going to Wrigley, I got my spot at Wrigley, knock the door at Wrigley, open the fridge, and then I go to Murphy.
Yeah, it's just another way for them to kind of like tailor the set to the venue like they do. And you get that a lot in this. Like, and I'm not a fan of a lot of this, like we talked about before, where I think they sometimes pander to Chicago and the Cubs, and they, like we talked about that version of Not For You that really didn't need that whole Cubs section to it. I think it kind of took away from the song. I think in a song like that or a song like Corduroy can take it away. But in something like this, like, yeah, if you're using it kind of afterwards, and I don't want to shout out the guitar tone on Lucan 2. It sounds perfect, like almost just like the album, like that. It's almost like a clean guitar sound. I really took me back to hearing it in those early, mid 90s versions. It was fantastic. And yeah, that this is kind of like how they've come to end the set, that they like doing this penultimate Lucan here.
Yeah, and going into Porch, which is always kind of like your pre-party before you get into the encore, and this was really utilized just about every single show in 2018 that they were doing this. So yeah, like, it's your signal that, the end of the main set is here. But boy, they get 18 songs out there, and this moves. This is so it's not just fast, but it's like it's all happening in such slow motion, but when it's over, it you look back on it and you're like, where the hell did that go? Like that, I get that vibe from this. But Porch ending the main set, like what's going through your head on this, Alex? I know, look, Porch has probably played every show that you've been to at this point, but like, this is always a song that just elicits so much energy out there.
Yeah, definitely. So this kind of goes back to Wrigley 2013, and I just remember when they were coming to the end of the show, I just remember hearing that slow riff in the beginning where you call Porch Blues, when they do the where 90s on the guitar, and then he just opens it up and then it all rises up. I just remember that moment. I still remember that moment and will remember that moment for the rest of my life. And then coming to 2018, being in the same venue, and then I just remember Mike had an amazing solo on the song, and then I just remember dancing so much and having so much fun that someone 3 rows back behind me was recording me dance. I don't know why, but I guess I had just had so much energy. I actually fell on my seat because I jumped in the air so high that I tripped on the seat, and I was just having so much fun. I was like, there's no better way to end the set off with that.
Yeah, and look, going back to everything that happened prior, like that's your moment to sort of realize that, hey, we may not have gotten to this point. There might not have been a porch. There might not have been, given a fly to open up, and there might not have been, all that's opening up this encore here. So, yeah, like that's a good moment for anybody that I think only hours ago was sitting there drenched, wondering whether or not things would go down the way they did. All right, let's pick it up back in the encore a little bit, and we start off a little bit of a tribute to Jack White. Eddie comes out with a Chris Chelios jersey though, and lays it over the amp, and that'll be important in just a second. But he is out here alone and is talking a little bit about Jack White. It's really it's just like him smoking pot in the scoreboard, and he just kind of keeps going on and on, which is just, it is what it is. So
he talks about like, the band's, this is going to be the last time because they offered me a job in the scoreboard.
Right.
So we'll
Yeah,
be able to tour
right.
from April to October.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, we haven't had an October tour since 2014, so I think people are already saying, hey, what the hell, like, Ed, go back on tour, stop following the Cubs around for the postseason. I wonder if that's kind of on their mind during all that. But yeah, like this cover coming up here, it's a White Stripes cover. They did it at the home show. I think it was night one, and they kind of did a little bit of tribute to Olivia and Harper's teachers, which was kind of nice. But here, John, like you said, it's more Wrigley pandering, and it's like off to Wrigley at the games, stuff like that. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't really care for him just doing the song. If you're going to do something Ed solo, I Won't Back Down is great, and Imagine it gets pretty good, but I'm not really huge on this.
Yeah, I didn't really. It probably would have been my favorite and my first choice to hear this one, but again, it's a rare thing. It's only been played twice, so it's cool. It's got a little bit of a lilt to it. It's just a nice thing to do. It's a nice song. And it gives him a chance to kind of improv the lyrics a little bit, like you talked about. But yeah, I would have liked. I thought it would have been nice to give another shout out to some teachers, especially now with what we're going through now. That's even more appropriate.
Yeah, I would think that this song, if not this song coming back, then something getting thrown in there where there's a dedication to teachers, nurses, doctors, frontline workers, all that. Yeah, and I would expect all that to be going. Alex, you had a point that you wanted to make on the Jack White stuff.
Hearing it in Seattle, it was kind of like weird when he brought up the Wrigley thing. It was like, oh, that's a lyric change. And when he did he did an entire verse just dedicated to Wrigley, and it was kind of cool because I grew up near the city, and when he brought up Addison Bound and the grabbing his mitt and walking to the Wrigley Field, it was just a powerful moment for the city and just me during that song.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
he was kind of channeling his childhood a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the familiar places around, and kind of giving you the sights and smells of what it really is like to be in Wrigleyville. I think he, out of anybody that is a massive Cubs fan or Chicagoite, he just paints the perfect picture of all that. So absolutely. Then you get a nice little tribute after that, and you bring out Chris Chelios, who has the World Series trophy in tow, and he brings out a jersey of Stan Mikita's as well, and he lays it aside, his own jersey that Ed brought out prior to We're Gonna Be Friends. So this is dedicated to Stan Mikita, and it's a really, really nice moment. And, I anytime that Ed will put together a tribute for a legend or a hometown hero, it's just something real special. I like, and you can't go wrong with Come Back. It's always during an emotional moment, and yeah, I think a lot of people in the city of Chicago really felt this one.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And he asked everybody again, like he did for Tom Petty, and I Won't Back Down. He asked everybody to kind of turn their lights on their phones and kind of do the Fireflies thing, which is a cool moment when you've got 50,000 people there doing it.
You kind of brought it up with just the lights in the moment with Chris Chelios up there, and just I think Stan died like a week before that or 2 weeks before the show. It was just a really great moment, and well, great but sad also. But it was just awesome seeing the Firefly moment with the lights.
And and they had the Bulls moment. You had a bunch of Cubs moments, so it was only fair that they spread the love around and give the Blackhawks a moment.
No Bears moments. They never did anything for the Bears, and I think.
I mean, he wears that Walter Payton jersey to a lot of shows.
Yeah, but he didn't wear it in Chicago, which I found a little bit suspect. He was wearing the Murphy shirt, and I think he busted out a Theo Epstein shirt at some point at this show. So yeah, I think maybe in one of the shows he mentioned Walter Payton real quick, but no Bears references, and maybe Bears have to win a little bit more. Who knows?
or lose for 100 years.
That too, yeah, exactly. Which is coming pretty close, I suppose. All right, yeah. This encore is just strong after this point. It's all of your greatest hits moments and a couple of surprises, but Corduroy in the encore, obviously not something you get every day in the encore. Black. Lightning bolt being thrown in a very important spot that this song is now sort of grandfathered into, and Rearview Mirror to end this sort of section. You can't really say it's ending the first encore because they didn't really go anywhere, so it's sort of ending the first section of the encore. So yeah, this is all bam, you're coming out with something real emotional, and then you're just smacking them across the face with all the hits.
Oh yeah, and you get another Cubs moment in Corduroy, a little "Go Cubs Go" chant at the end.
Go Cubs go! Go Cubs go! Go Cubs go!
Black, again, the McCready solo is amazing in Black. We talked about him earlier and what a great show it was for him. I thought this was maybe his best Black Wrigley performance. And there's other fantastic solo. Lightning Bolt, like you mentioned, just a sign of respect for that song and how it's come in the 5 years since its release at this point. I think it's earned that place in the encore, and it's a fantastic live song. It's probably the best song on that record. And yeah, I think it absolutely can hold here in between Black and Rearview Mirror.
When you're thinking about songs that just feel big, it doesn't really matter what era it's from. Like that one, it gets people clapping. It has different parts, and it just has an electricity to it, no pun intended. And obviously, there was rain in the skies that day. They had to put it off. So, of course, why not play Lightning Bolt? And also, it's tied to Wrigley because that's where they debuted it in 2013.
True.
So,
yeah, that's a good
point. So, to bring it in a good spot, I think a lot of people would probably think back to that. Like, hey, I remember in 2013 where I saw it here, and them bringing it back was another great moment. But when do you ever get Corduroy and Black back to back? Like that's just that's a lethal combo right there.
And then also in Black was such a powerful moment too when he just did the end and I think he did, I don't know what you call that, but I would call it kind of the wave when he does the side to side. It was just because I think they lowered the lights down, and it was just like it just felt like a crowd, just a community all around. Because Wrigley Field, it felt like a community, everybody just doing the do, just everyone. It was just an amazing moment.
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Whenever Black shows up at a big show, it does become close knit, and everybody feels like they're a part of something together. Yeah, absolutely. You can't really pass up on that big of a song and that big of a moment, and this was a perfect show for that. So we get to the second I guess, the second section of the encore instead of calling this Encore 2. Any other night, this would fairly obviously be Encore 2, but they kind of really don't know what to do here before getting into it. Ed says, we have a little bit of time, so let's not go anywhere. Let's just finish this up. We have till midnight. And it seemed like Smile was a request from the crowd, and they own up to it, and they switch instruments over, and there it is.
Yeah, Smile's always a cool moment, and to get another song off of No Code in an encore 2 like this is perfect. We've seen them do Last Kiss in this spot. We've seen them do some. This would normally be like a Surrender or something, and I was super happy to hear Smile at this point. It's another one that just this is where it becomes a party. Like, everyone's having a great time.
Yeah, what was that crowd like after all that? I mean, you're getting like 11:30-ish time right now. I know, a midnight show is not a huge leap from what they usually do, but the place has still got to be rocking, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it was with Smile coming from Rearview Mirror, and it was just kind of in the crowd. It was kind of confusing because they were kind of all walking off stage, and then they come back, and Eddie's like, "Where's my shirt?" He's trying to get his Theo Epstein shirt. It was just kind of confusing, and then he's like, "We're just gonna play a request," and they just have Smile, which is kind of slow down coming from Rearview Mirror, and then they have this big OTOTO coming up right after this.
That's very true. Yeah, we get an OTOTO to this point, but we think that this will be the OTOTO of this. So, Evil Little Goat was on the set list night one. It was there, and a lot of people there were some mumblings like, hey, it got scratched off. Could they do it on night two? Well, we brought this up with our panel, so we're going to get to our panel about both Evil Little Goat and a little bit of Leash afterwards, because that combo was absolutely one of the best combos of the night, or at least most surprising combos of the night. And then we'll bounce back to us, and we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when it was on the set list or whatever. When you heard it, it's just because of how often the goat, or just the animal, the goat, is associated with the Cubs so much that it kind of felt like it was that's I just assumed that's why they had thought of it, or maybe someone suggested it, or I don't know how it got in their minds, but again, it's one of those where it's like, would I've asked for it? Probably not, but am I glad I saw it? Absolutely. Well, I mean, I would say that a lot of the ballpark shows kind of, it seems like at least through all the 4 shows in 2016, counting the 2 Fenway shows, it seemed like they pulled something out that was either very, very low played or like hadn't been played, like
Angel was one of them, yeah.
And
Strangest Tribe,
and Let Me Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all very cool to see. And so I guess I should say I'm not surprised that they pulled something out like this, but I still am kind of surprised they pulled this one out.
Yeah. So what's the crowd? What's the reaction to this? Are people? There gotta be people that are like, "What the fuck? This is insane." There gotta be people that are just like, "What the fuck? Is this insane?"
Yeah, I tapped out from being in the thick of it on the floor and backed off a little bit. So it was very much like 90% of people were like, what is this garbage? And 10% were like, we're looking into the eyes of Christ. Like this. How many more would you put ahead of for the serious collector? Right? I mean, like, what's more rare, weird? You're just certain it's not going to get played. Like, just
platinum.
Nothing. This is the one.
This is the weirdest one in their catalog to do like this.
Like, maybe Whale Song, because the guy who sings it's not in the band. Like,
right.
Contender one. If
Grammy
not,
up there.
Grammy.
This is more than that.
Yeah,
you're talking about a song that was it was recorded on Ed's Walkman during the first rehearsal sessions, and like I had a copy of it. Like, you could get it on the bootleg of like those rehearsal demos, but yeah, it was just an improv. They just made it up on the spot. It was just like it was nothing.
Right. Is this even a song territory? Right.
This is the rarest song that's ever been played by Pearl Jam.
Silver Scandinavia, all the good girls are fine to find. Little golden and little hazel, but she ate up all our time. Go, she wasn't even a little goat. Go, she wasn't even a little goat. Go, she wasn't even a little goat. Go.
It's not just like, hey, here's something for the serious collectors. It's like, as somebody thought of it, this does fit. It makes halfway sense, and just what a jaw dropping, like, what in the world is this? I didn't think they were going to play it, even though I saw it crossed off in the set list. I'm like, dude, this nonsense is not going to be played. Certainly not in this time crunch time. Like, see you next year. Like, we'll try again at these next forthcoming shows. So,
it's only like a minute or two long. So,
right.
if they're going to crunch, that's a good one to crunch.
There you go. Add another track to the number of songs played. Right.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. Like if they were going to play it, it seems like this was the only setting fitting for it. Like, you couldn't. I mean, you can't hear this in just like some random show or or really any of the other ballparks. It just wouldn't feel right. It didn't make sense. And this one just it felt like it was like I said, if it was going to be played, it had to have been there. Otherwise, who knows? But
and never again, you guys.
No way.
OTO, 100%.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
And it dovetails into the only possible song you could have played after it, which is unlike, we're screwing around. Here's this nonsense. Just something for the hardcores and the OGs to just, bring you back to reality and to knock your dick right in the dirt. Like, God, what a great version of Leash. Like, it's so late at night at this point. This was just what the doctor ordered, and you knew we were winding down, and just to get one more that's not to quote Randy, the bread and butter. Leash was very, very welcome, thinking that we weren't going to go right from Evil Little Goat into the Alive riff. So very, very welcome surprise for Leash for me, and excellent.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially in Seattle, I feel like there was more of a push for Leash than there usually is. I feel like there were tons of "Play Leash, You Pussy" signs, and yeah, I feel like it was out there more on that show.
The only thing I was going to add is that I think that, I think it was just like by that point at the night, and it's also kind of the tail end of a long weekend, and it's just you're a little delirious, and let's just rock out one more time.
Yep.
Said, Leash was pretty, you get the excitement and enthusiasm coming off of Goat, and Leash just kind of, that takes it and runs with it, because I don't think anybody at this point was expecting them to play.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect way to segue out of Evil Will Goat to get a song like this that, again, a lot of people know. Everybody had verses, so everybody knows it, and it's, this 1-2 punch is fantastic.
You finish off Alive, kind of signals that the end of the night is coming, and they played Ledbetter the night before, they played Rocket in the Free World the night before, so I think this is pretty obvious to go to Baba here, and that's what they close the set with, but it's pretty special because you got Ed with the blue Telecaster out there, you got Danny Clinch playing their harmonica, and there's just so much going on stage, and it feels like they're about to tear the place down, and just, taking that last moment of playing Wrigley that year.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to end. And Baba is an underrated closer. I think it's doing the windmills and all the Townsend moves and everything, and it's great. And the crowd gets to scream that it's only Teenage Wasteland. It's a great way to send these people home.
Are you ready? Let's go. Don't cry.
And also, in Alive, I don't know what it is about these Wrigley performances. Alive always seems so powerful. Going back to 2016, it feels like they have such a good energy during that song, with Eddie jumping off the speaker at the end of 2016. And then with this version, I think they added a little something. I can't remember, but I feel like he just said, "Come on, Wrigley," or something like that. And he had the crowd just yelling the lyrics back at him, and then after that, going into Baba, just everybody jumping with the bass drum, and just having Danny come on stage with their harmonica, and then Eddie just destroying a guitar at the end of the song. It was just a great way to end it off with.
Yeah, look, Alive, you're going to get it every night, but it's one of those things where it's your achievement that you unlock, to almost like you fought through the rain and you got through, the whole entire set list, and it's your moment to really celebrate everything that has happened. It's a job well done for the show, and really you almost can't go wrong with playing it every night. So yeah, bring the party, bring it to the stage, bring it to the crowd. Ed, the curse has been reversed for a long time on that, and he feels real good about it, and he feels real good about sharing with it, and very good ending here to a very. Ooh, this is a really. I'm curious at the ratings here, because I really don't know what I want to rate it yet. I might kind of bounce some ideas off, but this is a, like you said, John, an immaculately created set list. So let's figure out what your guys' favorite moments are. Alex, you want to pick 3 here?
I'll go. So I would say my third favorite moment was Comeback, and my second one was with the Comeback. It was just the lights and everything. Stan Mikita. It was just all those emotions coming together, which just made it a really great moment for the entire crowd. And then in my tree, I just got hit by a lightning bolt in that song, just having so much energy and having so much fun screaming the lyrics. And I feel like most Pearl Jam fans, No Code is a huge album for them. So when you get a No Code song, everyone's going to have a lot of energy. And I just felt that with myself. And then just Porch. It was just something about this version, man. I just had something came out of me that I did. It was just a different animal. And I think it was just going back to 2013 and hearing what I heard as a kid and what kind of led me to the fan I am today. It just had that emotion that I'll never forget.
Well, we'll have to go check TikTok and see if we can find that video of you. Did you make the big screen as like a 13-year-old dancing around?
No, well, so our seats were a bit high back, but in the Seattle show I did, but hopefully I can tell that story a different time.
Okay.
Which is kind of an interesting story.
Little teaser there. I like that.
Hey, all right. We'll have to see when that comes up for sure.
So yeah, my 3 moments. My number 3 is "Throw Your Hatred Down." That was a nice surprise in the middle of the set. I thought they absolutely nailed it. Like I said, I really hope it sticks around, and I would love to see it someday. I thought it was perfect. My number 2 is the segue of "In My Tree" into that little improv into "Immortality." Thought it was beautiful, fantastic, perfect. What can you say? Those 2 songs together is absolutely amazing. And my number 1, how can it not be "Evil Little Goat"? Like that's the moment that people still go, holy shit, they actually did it. And it's, like I said, it's the fan service moment. It's the band saying thank you to the crowd for sticking with them through the Wrigley shows, through all their history. It's just a nice thing to give to them, to put in their back pocket. So those are my 3.
I was much happier getting out of my mind at Fenway the next week. I was very happy with Out of My Mind and getting it and getting to hear all the people brag about Evil Little Goat. I felt like getting that. I'm like, all right, we got something too, like they spread the wealth a little bit. So that was nice. But yeah, Evil Little Goat has to be on the list somewhere. I'm just going to keep it on the sidelines for a second as I kind of speak my way through it. But Given a Fly has to be in my top 3 because it felt so powerful that they're coming out with this moment and, they're not up to their usual bag of tricks. And I just remember they even brought this back night 2 of Fenway. This is, they did the same thing. They're like, how are we going to come back from a good show the night before? You got to start off hot. And I think maybe if they were playing more shows in 2019, if they played some, I would think that Given to Fly would come up more often in those spots to get that jolt and to start off that way. So Given to Fly is up there. I think that the Daughter It's Okay tag is there just because, the crowd was just so passionate on it. It felt like they wanted to erupt immediately after the song ended, getting into the tag, and then of course the emotional response from Ed's little political rant with before going into It's Okay, and yeah, Evil Little Goat has to be in the top 3. So mix them up however you want here. I'm fine with giving either of these the 1, 2, or 3. I'm maybe argue that Given a Fly might be 1 and Evil Little Goat might be 2, and Daughter It's Okay might be 3. So there you go. We worked it out. But let's figure out a rating for this because I want to see what you guys got. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to let you guys go first, so then I can kind of see where I am with this.
I'll go 9.5 out of 10. I feel like if it was just a little bit more songs, even though they had the thing, but 9.5 out of 10 I feel like is a very, very high rating for the show and for as much fun as I did. And comparing them to the 2 shows I had before this, it was just a great way to end it off with. So 9.5.
I think that's fair, and I think, like I said at the beginning, this is an absolute masterclass in set construction. There's not a thing wrong with it, and with that said, like I think you have to go with what you're given, and I think for the circumstances, for everything that went on the day, for all the nods back to the previous shows, for the mixing up the hits and the rare songs and the covers perfectly, that this is a 10 out of 10. For me, it's only just percentage points behind Night 2 of 2016. But yeah, these Night 2 shows are special, so I give this one a perfect 10.
All right, that makes my decision a little bit harder because, yeah, I'm not going to give this a 10. I don't have this as a 10 show. I think you all know by now that I don't really hand out 10s. I'm in the 9 range. I'm in the 9, like... I thought the set list was fantastically done. I thought the reaction to the rainfall and just the day itself, and then coming out and giving the crowd a boost of energy right away with Given a Fly and all those songs in the beginning, Go and Why Go and all that. I think it was great. Maybe outside of the Evil Little Goat and the I think there were a lot of hits at this show, and maybe that doesn't have this show stick out as much as it would. And I don't even know if that's the right thing to say because, again, Evil Little Goat is the rarest of the rare. But, like, give me one more rare song off Yield. Give me a binaural song. Give me something like that instead of an Unthought Known or something. And maybe that's just me nitpicking a little bit. But outside of that, I think, John, I think you said that given the circumstances, they wanted to put together a show that just about everybody was going to react to, from top to the bottom, from the young fan to the longtime fan. And I think they provided that, and I don't think that this is their best Wrigley effort, but I think it does deserve a solid 9. So that's what I will go with. So that's it. That is Wrigley month for you all. I can't believe that we got through it, and I can't believe it's over. It kind of happened in a flash. It kind of happened in an instant. But Alex, we thank you for joining us and sharing your stories here with us, and thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. And on behalf of all Patreon members and all the fans of this show, I just really want to thank you for having an amazing month, organizing all the interviews, doing all this work to make us have fun and enjoy listening to the show. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Hey, this is what it's all about. We're just as much of a fan of this as you all are. So we just want to get everybody to engage as much as possible. And I'm glad that so many people were into this because this meant a lot to both John and I. So no thanks go out to us. Thanks go out to you because without you guys, we'd just be continuing to do around the world stuff. But we really wanted to do something special for all the people out there and get their stories and get all the scope of what these shows were about. And I think we hit every single storyline, every single thing that we had to cover. We nailed. So thank you to everybody. No thanks go out to us. We were just providing a little bit of company while you drive or while you're stuck at home. So yeah, that's all we're doing. But thank you guys for being a part of it. One thing that we didn't mention about the Night 2 show, one thing that, I think needs to be brought up because, we're doing all this. Night 2 is pretty special because that was the night or the day that we decided that we were officially going to do this thing and become a podcast. This was something that Matt and I had been talking about for maybe a month or two. Like, we were following the European tour pretty closely and talking to people, and it kind of came out of nowhere, and we're just like, yeah, we should just do it. We should just go ahead and do it. And, we wanted to put together a Fenway party, and what better way to do it than to, announce the show is coming on Wrigley Night 2. So that is as special to us as it is to everybody else because we were trying to get out there, and I know I was trying to post stuff and post things in groups while the rain delay was going on, like, hey, everybody join a new Pearl Jam thing, like, it'll be fun, it'll be cool. And look at what it's turned into. We have guests coming on the show that are just fantastic, and we have so many patrons that we can't thank enough for their help with requesting shows and just getting their stories and overall scope of their fandom. So would never in a million years just believe that this could be possible. And I mean, John, I have you to thank too, because I didn't know who you were back then, but now we're sitting here and Matt doesn't do the show every week, but you do, and you followed on pretty quickly, and yeah, so this is where we are today, and we've really evolved with this.
Oh, thanks, man. I didn't quite realize what kind of hard work goes into it, and shout out to you for everything that you put into it. I think that's starting to pay off. We're getting, like you said, we're getting a lot of great guests, and we only want to get bigger and better from here on out. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and it's been fantastic. I love being a part of it. I love being able to talk about these shows and go back and listen to bootlegs that I haven't listened to in forever, and just it's just a great way to keep in touch with this community, and especially now when we're waiting on this tour, and when the tour comes back, it'll be even bigger.
Yeah, and look, we're hoping to be at as many of these shows as humanly possible. I know we didn't really talk about it, but the European tour getting reannounced and rebooked, like, that's pretty important. And I know most of you that we were talking about hanging out in Amsterdam, we just got to see what comes up. The plan is still to go, but there's a lot of borders and there's a lot of things that we have to get past first, and there's also a flight ban currently. So
and it looks like you're kicking off that tour now instead of ending it, right?
It's a kickoff, yeah. Which I like the tour enders. But the kickoffs can be fun too. Maybe a couple rare ones, but like the kickoffs are kind of the ones where they hint at you as to what the tour is going to be like. Are we getting a lot of new stuff? Are we getting a lot of hits? And they just want to get a feel for the beginning of what's to come. So maybe we'll get
especially if those are their first shows back. Those are going to be great.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You would think that something special would come up with those. All right. So, yeah, we're back to normal next week. No more Wrigley stuff, but you can tune in tomorrow. We're actually going to post our part 2 of our fan mail tomorrow. So if your story wasn't told in part 1, it will absolutely be told in part 2 if you emailed into us. So we thank you, everybody, for doing that, and check those out, because those have just been fun to recount everybody's stories, and it was a good time to just talk about all that stuff. So yeah, if you told a story, if you want to hear all the fan stories, check out what we released yesterday, the first part of the fan mail episode, and tomorrow will be part 2. But next week we are going to have some patrons on the show, and we're going to do San Francisco Night 3 2006, which is a pretty popular show in their lore. We don't get to deal with Night 3s very often. We
just talked about how good the Night 2s are, but yeah, this Night 3 will be good.
Yeah, so we're excited for that, and I listened to the show a little bit a couple weeks ago. I think it was the anniversary of the show, and boy, it's going to be a fun one to go back and listen to, and we're going to have 2 patrons on talking about their exclusive experiences. So that'll be cool. So again, with Patreon, if you do want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com/live-on4legs, and we will potentially have a mask to send you. If not a mask, we can send you a sticker. Sure, why not? There are a billion of them just hanging around my house. Got to get rid of them somehow. So once again, just thanks to everybody for tuning in and sending us really nice and warm notes about how much you enjoyed Wrigley Month, and it means the world to us. And now we've raised the bar pretty high for ourselves, and now we have to keep raising it. So who knows what's to come in the future, but hopefully it'll be fun, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what it is. So that's it, Wrigley goers. Fly the W. Let's finish this on out. This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer, and although we may be parting ways, I miss you already, and I miss you always. For John and I and Alex for coming on the show, and the whole month of July just being nothing but Wrigley Field. Go Cubs go. We will see you back next week.
Cubs win. Cubs win.
Get on safe. All right. Thanks over there in the barman section. Much love. And the Wilson Contreras section. And the Anthony Rizzo section. And the Zobrist section. The Mago section. The Hayward section. Ian Happ, Kyle Schwarber section. The Johnny Lester section. The Kyle Hendricks section. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your summer. Thanks for letting us be part of it. Much love.